Morning to you. We have made it to the middle of the week, and hey, it's already shaping up to be another beautiful day. Okay, Rod, give us the goods. What's on tap?
Yeah, you know, the best story today is the fact that east winds will not be as strong as yesterday, and if you had just a little bit of wind yesterday, you probably get none today. So here are the temperatures. We are perfectly clear, and again, we have some chilly spots. Hillsboro 34. Yesterday, Gresham and Troutdale were in the 50s at this hour. The winds have faded. You folks are both down into the 30s. Salem's at 36. Kaiser, good morning to you folks. 40s, your temperature. Looks like about 62 at noon. I do have us rising all the way to 70 for a high temperature this afternoon.
All right, Rod, we're going to get to our top story this hour right now. Portland police for the second straight night declaring a riot. This was the scene in North Portland last night. Rioters there lit the Portland Police Union building on fire. This is on North Lombard, right near Denver Avenue. That crowd started last night marching from Kenton Park. They say they were protesting the police killing of Daunte Wright in Minnesota. The fire itself was quickly put out. Police were able to clear the crowd, but they say the fire did cause about $20,000 in damage. A 19-year-old woman has been arrested and charged with arson. So after responding to that riot last night, Nina, Portland police say their resources are really being stretched thin right now.
Yeah, Monday night, a bigger group smashed windows, lit fires, threw things at officers, and tore out light fixtures trying to break into the Kelly building on East Burnside. Police declared it a riot and a coordinated attack.
Some people in this group were advocating for the abolition of police. They were advocating and encouraging people to burn down police facilities. And we know these are not the sentiments of our public at large.
We also learned that the front doors of this nearby church were smashed Monday night in that riot. We talked to leaders at the First Covenant Church who said this really shows the amount of pain in the community.
At the end of the day, right, it's a couple of windows. And the thing we need to keep laser focused on as a community is the lives of people of color that instigate these protests.
So far, no one's been arrested for Monday night's damage. Now, as we said before, the protests have been spurred by the police shooting of Daunte Wright in Minnesota. And yesterday, you just saw her right there. The officer who killed him resigned. So did the police chief of the city of Brooklyn Center. The mayor saying the city was getting ready to fire the officer anyway. Large protests continued in Minnesota last night as well.
Now to the latest on the pause on the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. The FDA and CDC are investigating after 6 women developed rare blood clots within 2 weeks of getting the vaccine. One person died, another is in critical condition. Johnson & Johnson is often used in outlying areas because it doesn't require the super cold storage the other vaccines need. And with just one dose, it's easier to protect people who are hard to reach. Okay, you saw the map there. The places in green are the ones that use the J&J vaccine most often, and Hood River County stands out. More than 15% of its shots are from Johnson & Johnson. There is a lot of misinformation circulating online that the vaccine has been recalled, but that's not the case. Here's Jay Wallace with our Verify team.
Soon after the CDC and FDA recommend that providers pause the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, word started to spread on social media that the vaccine had been recalled. We want to verify, did the FDA recall Johnson & Johnson's COVID-19 vaccine? With Verify, we like to show you our sources up front. We consulted the Centers for Disease Control, Food and Drug Administration, and Dr. Amish Adalja. He's a senior scholar in infectious disease critical care and emergency medicine physician at Johns Hopkins University in Baltimore. Let's first look at the joint statement from the CDC and FDA. It says they're recommending a pause while they look into 6 cases of blood clots out of the nearly 7 million doses already given. This is an important distinction, according to Dr. Adalja.
Think about your DVD remote. When you hit pause, that means you're going to come back and hit the unpause button. So this usually is a temporary stoppage in order to kind of take a look at the data, take a look at the lay of the land, think about the risk communication messaging, and then move forward.
According to the FDA's website, a recall is a voluntary action taken by a company to remove a defective drug product from the market. Johnson & Johnson has not removed the vaccine from the market, and there is no medical proof that it is defective. The CDC also says vaccine recalls are almost always initiated by the manufacturer, not a government entity. The FDA approved this vaccine through an emergency use authorization, meaning it doesn't yet have the FDA's full approval. According to the FDA, Johnson & Johnson must continually review medical data related to its vaccine in order to maintain its emergency use authorization. And that's the reason we know about these 6 cases.
You have to remember that when you do a clinical trial, you're studying maybe tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people. That's very different than when you're putting a vaccine into hundreds of millions of people.
Now, there's no confirmation yet that the vaccine caused these blood clots. Scientists from the FDA and CDC will work together to see if there's any possible links moving forward.
The intention is that this will resume, and I do suspect the Johnson & Johnson vaccine will resume.
So we can verify the Johnson & Johnson vaccine has not been recalled. This is only a recommendation to pause giving out doses while it undergoes a review.
After that Verify report, we want to get to 3 more things to know about COVID this morning. Number 1, health officials are concerned that a religious festival is accelerating COVID cases in India. This festival only happens once every 10 years. Millions of people take part in the month-long event, and many of them are not following the country's mask rules right now. India has passed Brazil for the 2nd highest number of COVID cases in the world. The United States, by the way, has had the most. Number 2, the World Health Organization is urging all countries to stop selling wild animal meat at public marketplaces. The organization says markets that sell fresh meat, fish, and other perishable items are responsible for over 70% of the infectious diseases that are found in humans. Some countries, like China, have already closed marketplaces like these because of COVID, but others have kept them open. And number 3, Facebook is working to connect people to COVID vaccines by sending out notifications about vaccine availability in close to 20 different countries. Here in the U.S., the state of West Virginia says it's had an increase in registrations for vaccines since Facebook started running these notifications. And those are 3 things to know about COVID this morning.
Well, a lot of people are celebrating the return of warm weather, but combined with dry, windy conditions, we're seeing a troubling number of brush fires. So much so, Clackamas County just issued a temporary burn ban through Sunday. The county has seen several brush fires, same with Washington County and other parts of our region in Central Oregon. The Oregon Department of Forestry says just this year, 70 fires have already burned through 400 acres on ODF land. That's 3 times the average. 40 of those started from escaped backyard burn piles. And this is all before the official start of fire season.
We're really starting to adjust our outlook about fire season, that it's not just a few months out of the year. It's something that we're thinking about nearly all year long.
Tualatin Valley Fire and Rescue saying it's already time for people to start creating defensible space around their home to protect your property. They suggest getting rid of trees and dry brush growing too close to buildings in case there's ever a fire nearby. So
well, apparently it was all pretend when Nancy Pelosi played nice with the squad. A new book
My name is Deborah Holbrook, and I came to Shaniko in actually 1993. I was volunteering to take Oregon history kids to places where history happened. I was not, as a student way back when, interested in history, but when my kids got to the 8th grade and actually studied Oregon history, I went as a chaperone. And the teacher they had took them to like Fort Clatsop, places where history happened. And it just really grabbed me that that was the way it should be. And in 1996, I was living here. I met a man who grew up out here and he had just retired and was studying the history of the area. And I wanted to put something together that people could take with them, like a souvenir or something. So I was studying the newspapers that had happened here. And so I started one, it's called the Shaniko Sage. And it's in volume 14 now. But anyway, I met this man, Don.
From chilling and overgrown cemeteries rumored to be some of the most haunted burying grounds in the country, to nearly ancient, dilapidated ruins restored by new money and stalked by old death. Ghosts, cryptids, and urban legends straight from one's darkest night terrors stalk the dense forests, the darkest alleys, and the seemingly serene coastline of the Beaver State, which is why the Speakeasy is thrilled to bring you our list of picks for the most haunted places in the state of Oregon. Are you ready for this one? Number 10, Lithia Park. Lithia Park is a 93-acre public park located in central Ashland that stretches from downtown near the plaza up toward Mount Ashland, and that boasts the title of being the largest, most central park in the city. Before European settlers arrived to the area, land near Ashland Creek played home to the Shasta people. In 1852, the site that now holds the entrance to Lithia Park was a much different scene, void of civilization, covered in dense forest, all except for one sleepy flour mill, which was owned by Abel Hellman and Eber Emery. Rather astoundingly, this mill was technically the first building on Ashland soil. In 1908, the Women's Civic Improvement Club petitioned to create a park along the banks of the Ashland Creek. Initially, this park was to be named Ashland Canyon Park, but pending the discovery of high levels of lithium oxide in the stream, its name was quickly altered to the more modern moniker, Lithia Park. During the 4th of July Festival in 1935, the first performances of what would one day become the prestigious Oregon Shakespeare Festival took place. In 1974, a storm flooded Ashland Creek, resulting in the destruction of a good portion of parkland. It was quickly repaired, but damaged again later in 1997 by another flooding storm. This subsequent damage urged drastic improvements to preventative measures in place. Lithia Park remains open to the public to this day, boasting 2 large greens, a band shell for musical performances, 2 duck ponds, a large playground, tennis courts, a community building, and a seasonal ice skating rink. There are also impressively styled Japanese gardens, picnic areas, miles of hiking trails, and, according to a number of local reports, several chilling paranormal infestations. The ghost of a young girl clad in a dress from the 1800s has been sighted wandering about, sometimes calling for help. Many stories tell that she was murdered somewhere on park grounds. This spooky little specter has been known to materialize as a faintly glowing blue mist that floats above the duck pond at night. One eerie account tells of a group of college students who accidentally drove through her blue mist in the 1970s. All present reported feeling suddenly chilled to the bone. Another spirit commonly cited throughout Lithia is that of a logger who it said perished after he was hit by a widowmaker or tree with built-up tension that's fell and shot in the wrong direction. Those who encounter his ghost report he's in pleasant spirits, no pun intended, drinking while playing an empty jug as a musical instrument. Astoundingly enough, several loggers through the area have reported almost being hit by widowmakers, but pulled from their path at the last moment by an unseen force moving at blinding speeds. Many report hearing the sound of a jug being played in the distance shortly afterwards, a nod that he's watching out for all those who carry the saw. Lastly, reported all across Lithia are disembodied footsteps, orbs captured in photos and video, inexplicable electronic malfunctions, vehicles failing to start, and the consistent feeling of being watched or followed. Number 9. The Yaquina Head Lighthouse. The Yaquina Head Lighthouse is a historic lighthouse located near the mouth of the Yaquina River, near the coastal town of Newport, that towers an impressive 93 feet in height, earning it the reputation of being the tallest lighthouse in the state of Oregon. It may surprise some to learn that the light perched at Yaquina Head was originally constructed in Paris in 1868 and was later shipped to Oregon. The lighthouse structure itself was constructed around the same time, with the light being placed atop and lit later in 1873. The lighthouse officially opened alongside construction of a nearby 2-story lightkeeper's house and oil shed, which were scheduled to be finished shortly after. In 1923, a 1-story keeper's residence was added to the east, and in 1938, a single story was constructed to replace the original, outdated 2-story abode. In 1939, the U.S. Coast Guard took over management of the facility. Through World War II, servicemen were stationed at the light as lookouts for any potential threats on or over the waters. In 1966, the entire light system was automated, and later in 1984, both lightkeepers' houses were torn down. The Yaquina Head Lighthouse remains active as a navigational aid to this day, and towers over an associated 100-acre Yaquina Head outstanding natural area. The Yaquina Head Interpretive Center was opened in 1997 and offers a wealth of displays, exhibits, and materials surrounding the lighthouse and its history. The area is rich with tide pools common along the Oregon coast, and limited tours of the light are available. If you plan on visiting Yaquina Head, keep an eye out. Tales tell of several hauntings throughout the area. As one legend has it, a construction worker fell to his death while the tower was being built. It's said that his body tumbled into a double-layered wall and that it was sealed in. While recent sources state to have disproved this theory, the story continues to grow in popularity, and reports of phantom knocking and desperate cries for help from within the walls haven't slowed. Another tale tells of an individual who was walking her dog when it fell from the high-up cliffside. Rescue workers arrived and began to rappel toward injured barking sounds. When the area went deathly silent, suddenly the dog sprang up from behind them, alive and well. Strangely enough, a number of ships approaching the light report their compass and other equipment going suddenly haywire. One account from the 1920s tells that an assistant named Higgins worked the light and became ill. With no help nearby, he succumbed to his affliction and perished on the stairwell. For many years, a ghostly lightkeeper has been sighted in the tower, And up to recent times, it was assumed to be Higgins, until it was revealed that Higgins didn't actually die in the tower. It was discovered, however, that one unnamed assistant did perish in the tower from a heart attack. Many cling to the old tale, claiming the ghost is still that of Higgins, simply returning to the place he loved in life, while others have started to move towards a new theory regarding the heart attack victim. A final legend tells that a lighthouse keeper drowned nearby and that his daughter, overcome with grief, ended her own life. A ghostly female apparition has been sighted wandering the nearby shore, and many assume it's a product of this fable. Lastly, reported in the light and across the grounds are disembodied footsteps, doors opening and closing on their own, shadowy apparitions that lurk about, and batteries on personal electronics going dead at faster than normal rates. Number 8. Edgefield. Now housing one of the many eccentrically extravagant McMenamins brewery, restaurant, hotel, and overall event venues, Edgefield in Troutdale is a, quite frankly, oddly Oregonian destination resort located on a 74-acre historic property right at the mouth of the Columbia River Gorge scenic area, about 20 minutes from downtown Portland. The structure housing this McMenamins, a homegrown company known for renovating old properties into beer wonderlands, was originally constructed in 1911 as the Multnomah County Poor Farm. The facility and grounds was operated as both a place of housing and of work for Portland's ill and indigent. It was established in response to the closure of a prior poor farm based out of West Hills. This new Multnomah County location would eventually grow to encompass over 345 acres of land, along with a multitude of buildings utilized both by residents and by staff. In 1964, the main building was converted into a nursing home, with all farming operations put on hold. At this time, the site took on a new name, the Edgefield Center. In 1982, after nearly 2 decades, the nursing home was closed down, and many began asking what would become of the intricate complex. In 1990, Edgefield was added to the National Register of Historic Places. The same year, it was purchased by the McMenamins franchise, who promptly renovated and reopened the center as McMenamins Edgefield. The property remains open to the public to this day, offering stylish and intriguing lodgings, multiple restaurant stops and food options, a series of nearly hidden pubs, some as small as closets, novelty shops, multiple gardens, a movie theater, golf course, fine dining via the Black Rabbit, an outdoor concert venue, lazy river, and, according to reports, a slew of resident hauntings. First of all, we'd just like to state that we've spent significant time at this one, and wowie. On a paranormal level, it's pretty intense. After speaking at length with an employee, we learned that a staff member who was a non-believer entered an empty room in the basement at one point, only to be greeted by a low, loud, and inhumane growl from the darkest corner. The man was overcome with fear and had to leave. A number of deaths occurred here while the facility was in use as a poor farm and nursing home. It's said that when McMenamins purchased the lot, they actually performed a spirit cleansing to remove any negative entities. In the process, they discovered a stack of animal bones in one room, as well as several unmarked graves throughout the area. There have been so many reports of the paranormal, the front desk now actively keeps a ghost log, which all are welcome to view. Out of the graves, 2 are said to belong to a mother and her child. The child perished of chickenpox and was buried on the property, while the mother passed later and was laid to rest next to her child. Their spirits have been sighted wandering the property, especially near their graves. Calm looks on their faces. Their spirits have also been heard on the upper floor when it's supposed to be empty, the mother singing softly over labored crying. In one instance, a woman approached the front desk to report that she felt as if she was being watched in her room, resulting in the manager accompanying her back as a reassurance. When the 2 opened the door, a deep voice yelled, "Get out!" The manager reports the hair on the back of their necks stood on end instantly, and that she ended up swapping the woman to a new room. The spirit of an elderly woman has been known to tap guests on the shoulder, and is usually accompanied by the strong scent of old-timey perfume. It's said that this seemingly sweet old presence is especially fond of room 215, and that any who leave it a mess risk suffering her wrath, in which they'll return to find their personal possessions strewn about the room. Also reported across the Edgefield campus are shadowy figures seen darting about, doors opening and closing on their own, light switches operating by themselves, and disturbing reports in which guests are touched, grabbed, or pushed lightly by unseen hands. Lastly, the ghost of a small child has been seen and heard running up and down the halls throughout the night. Those who've tried to communicate with or approach him have been met in disappointment, as he promptly vanishes, leaving his identity up for speculation. Number 7. Wolf Creek Inn and Tavern. Wolf Creek Inn and Tavern, located within the associated Wolf Creek Inn State Heritage Site just north of Grants Pass, claims its titles as both the oldest continuously operating hotel in the entirety of the Pacific Northwest, and as the inn at which author Jack London was staying when he finished his famous novel, Valley of the Moon. Before the inn ever existed, through the 1850s, this site played home to a small shack that was offered up to travelers, hunters, miners, and any passing through the area who might seek shelter for a night for a small price. The inn and tavern that we know today was originally designed and constructed later in 1883 by one Henry Smith, a local entrepreneur who recognized there was an opportunity in the property. Henry noted that the location lied right alongside the Applegate Trail, a safer alternative to the Oregon Trail, and knew his creation would become a prominent pit stop. Through the early 1900s, as Hollywood started its steep ascent, the inn became a place for blooming actors and actresses who wanted an escape from reality. These famous faces included the likes of Clark Gable, Carole Lombard, and Orson Welles, to name a few. In 1975, the property was purchased by the state of Oregon, who took 4 years, up until 1979, to fully restore the inn. Land surrounding the historic structure was declared and reopened as the Wolf Creek Inn State Heritage Site. The inn underwent renovations and modernizations in 2018. It remains open to this day, offering fine lodgings, exquisite food and drink, and even paranormal tours, which is fitting, as over the years, both staff and guests have reported a wide range of inexplicable occurrences. After 2018 renovations, these occurrences are said to have only increased in strength and frequency. Several mediums and paranormal experts have investigated the inn, and surprisingly, the general consensus, contrary to most infestations, is that the spirits are actually happy the inn is being cared for and looked after. One of Wolf Creek's most famous spirits is said to be that of Jack London himself, who loved and frequented the inn in life. His disembodied voice has been heard often, especially by writers, emanating from thin air. The spirit of One-Eyed Charlie, an imposing, burly figure with a rugged face and clad in Western attire, also frequents the inn. As history and legend have it, Charlie was one of, if not the toughest coach driver to ever make the run south from Oregon. Tale was told that the only days of work Charlie would miss was every day right after payday, when he was too hungover to drive. Holdups, murders, and the like were common on the runs down through California, but Charlie handled it all. There was just one problem. Upon Charlie's death at the ripe old age of 67, which was pretty ripe in that era, it was discovered that Charlie wasn't Charlie at all. She was actually Charlotte, an orphaned girl from Vermont who'd escaped to build a life as Charlie on her own, unburdened by the social restrictions associated with being female through the mid-1800s. It said Charlie's spirit loved the Wolf Creek area in life, and as such is most often encountered in the tavern, a gruff smile on her face as she sips her drink, fading away if approached. Also reported throughout the inn and surrounding area are shadowy figures sighted slinking around, a number of unidentified full-bodied apparitions in clothing from different eras, old-timey piano music coming from nowhere, and furniture moving on its own. In the kitchen, staff has reported pots and pans flying from the shelves, as well as long-lost orders being called by disembodied voices. Another famous legend surrounding Wolf Creek tells of a vampire-like creature that's been sighted around the tavern and surrounding woods, blood dripping from its mouth. Several legends have formed surrounding this entity, that it's an actual cryptid, or that it's the spirit of someone who was handicapped in life and who wants to be seen as a monster, but we may never know the truth. Disturbingly, at least one guest has reported being bitten. If you're thinking of swinging into the Wolf Creek and want to experience some of these happenings, many claim Room 8 is the most active. Lastly, the spirit of a young woman is seen and heard in the hallways, as well as in the Clark Gable suite. Legend tells this is the ghost of the daughter of a previous owner who passed on the property. Her spirit is said to be joyful, bringing a calming sensation to any room it enters, and guests frequently report hearing her pleasant singing through the walls. Number 6. Lafayette Pioneer Cemetery. Lafayette Pioneer Cemetery is a historic cemetery located off of the corner of Northeast Dunaway Road and Northeast Don Lane in Lafayette, Oregon, that holds the title of the oldest cemetery in the third oldest town in the state. The small community of Lafayette was first established in 1846, about 35 miles southwest of Portland and 25 miles north of Salem. Lafayette Pioneer Cemetery was established shortly after, in the early 1850s, as the town slowly grew into one of the Oregon Territory's most important and prosperous cities. The graveyard was hastily thrown together and not well cared for, with the cemetery's oldest grave marker, one that dates back to 1873, a stone that many theorize followed much older wood markers, long disintegrated by time. In 1886, the town of Lafayette was shaken when local business owner David Corker was found brutally murdered in his bed. A year after the murder, one Richard E. Marple, a local man known for committing petty crimes, was accused for Corker's slaying. Both Richard and his loving mother Anna insisted he was innocent, but he was hanged regardless. Unfortunately, it's recorded that Richard didn't die quickly, that the knot was tied wrong, and that it took a full 18 minutes for him to choke to death. His body was laid to rest in Lafayette Pioneer Cemetery. Over the years, additional cemeteries were established, and the Pioneer Cemetery was left to stand the test of time. Today, the old burying grounds are managed by the Yamhill County Historical Society, who keep the property open to the public during specified hours, and several official groups have managed to stay the night with permission. If you're a local Oregonian or have done your research on Oregon's haunts, this next part should go without saying. The Lafayette Pioneer Cemetery carries with it a ridiculously infamous reputation, as well as a host of ghostly stories passed down through generations of Lafayette families. Though stories vary, the general consensus is that a woman by the name of Anna Marple was accused of witchcraft and hanged near Lafayette, Oregon. By most accounts, she cursed the town of Lafayette to burn to the ground no less than 3 times, and that her ghost still haunts the cemetery, cackling maniacally and chasing away any who dare enter after dark. Lafayette has burned twice so far. In recent times, ease of historic fact-checking has revealed a different tale, as well as added confusion to this age-old legend. According to public records, someone was hanged in Lafayette, but it wasn't Anna. It was her son, Richard Marple, under the charges of murder and burglary. Richard was put to death on November 11th of 1887. Further digging suggested that Anna, his mother, had actually been a gypsy, and as such, had never cursed, but instead predicted the town would burn 3 times. Others have suggested a story somewhere in between these two versions, where Anna was in fact a witch, but only cursed the town after her son was taken from her. Regardless of which version is true, if any actually are, to this day, a surprising number report being chased from the grounds by a dark force floating high in the sky, hearing a crazed laughter, and several have even emerged with deep cuts or scratches across their backs to prove it. Sadly, those entering the cemetery and not incurring Anna's wrath have witnessed her standing over the grave of her son, sobbing quietly. Anna's body is buried elsewhere. Also reported across the grounds are shadowy figures, a number of apparitions in old-fashioned clothing, strange lights in the skies, orbs captured in photos and video, high EMF levels, chilling EVPs, and the constant feeling of being watched or followed. Lastly, a female apparition thought to be that of Lena Elise Emas, who took her own life in 1908 of way of drinking carbolic acid, has been sighted walking among the markers, leaving a smell of flowers in her wake. Number 5. The Forest Grove Woods. The Forest Grove Woods is an area claimed by locals as the forested spaces throughout and comprising the outskirts of the town of Forest Grove, a city in Washington County that plays home to Pacific University and that lays about 25 miles to the west of Portland. Before Forest Grove ever existed, this area of the Tualatin Valley was inhabited and frequented by several native tribes. In 1841, Alvin T. Smith and his wife Abigail, who were among some of the first successful travelers of the Oregon Trail, decided to settle on what was then known as West Tualatin Plain. Alvin would go on to become the area's first postmaster in 1850, with his very own log cabin serving as the local drop. In 1858, the name of the town was changed, fittingly, to Forest Grove, mainly for its oak trees, several groves of which still stand, the most famous landing on what is now Pacific University's campus. In 1872, Forest Grove was incorporated, making it the first town in the county to do so. It continued to grow and by 1894 accommodated a fire department. By 1900, the population had reached nearly 1,300, and in 1908, the railroad was brought through town. Today, Forest Grove holds a populace of approximately 25,000 people. It boasts 2 historic districts with an impressive 12 properties listed on the National Register of Historic Places. Despite its growth and extensive histories, according to local legend, the populace of Forest Grove has been plagued by fear of the very forests it was named after, or more specifically, of the infestations they're rumored to hold. The most famous and terrifying apparition said to stalk the woods is, of course, the Forest Grove lumberjack, an imposing figure that emanates a sense of pure evil. This axe-wielding specter has been known to chase and attack any who venture too deep into the woods, and has even been blamed in several deaths and disappearances throughout Washington County. Several stories tell of nature spirits, possibly spirits of natives who inhabited the land long before it was settled, who are simply watching over the forests, while others tell of ghostly criminals and outlaws, many of which sought refuge in the dense foliage only to lose their way and life to the elements. Strange, misty white forms have been sighted along various trails throughout the area, and in a few astonishing instances, witnesses who are being chased by the Forest Grove lumberjack have reported him vanishing suddenly in the presence of whatever these things are. Some claim they are guardian angels, making sure evil in the forests stay contained. Also reported throughout the forests are orbs caught commonly in photos and video, disembodied voices, the feeling of being watched or followed, strange lights flitting through the trees, and shadowy apparitions. A number of reports tell of strange, white creatures that lurk high in the trees and let out deafening, inhuman shrieks. Many locals to the area claim these shrieks happen almost every night and can get quite disturbing. Number 4, the Liberty Theater. The Liberty Theater is a historic vaudeville theater and cinema located off Commercial Street in downtown Astoria that is the major occupant of the historic Astor Building. In 1922, a large fire ripped through downtown Astoria, destroying businesses and residences alike. When the blaze finally settled, 30 blocks had been leveled. Planning for a complete restoration didn't take long, with the Astor Building complex opening fresh doors in 1925 and sporting a series of offices, stores, dance studios, and of course, the Liberty Theater. The theater was originally designed for a Claude Jensen and John von Herberg theater chain, and quickly became a symbol for Astoria's rebirth. During its opening, the theater's centerpiece was a 1,200-pound iron-framed paper and silk Chinese lantern-styled chandelier. Through the 1940s and 50s, the Liberty's older glass canopy was replaced with a modern neon marquee, and a lobby-side concession stand followed shortly after. Through the 1980s and early 90s, due to careless management, the theater began to fall into ruin. But in 1992, a group of civic leaders stepped in, saving the property and forming Liberty Restoration Incorporated. Together, the organization managed to raise funds necessary to purchase the property outright. In 2005, following a massive cleanup, the Liberty first reopened as a performing arts theater. A year later, in 2006, a full-scale renovation of the building was launched and continues to this very day. The Liberty continues to serve as a performing arts venue, a place for educational opportunities, and hosts numerous community events each year. Impressively, a number of renowned sources have speculated the Liberty Theater has actually paved the way for Astoria's continued economic revitalization. Over time, this prestigious structure has picked up another reputation, a much darker notoriety based on a series of seemingly supernatural encounters. Staff, patrons, and workmen alike report objects moving spatially on their own, doors opening and slamming shut when no one is around, and unearthly knocking sounds emanating from the walls. A number of full-bodied apparitions donning clothing from the theater's many eras have been sighted roaming about as if they think they're still alive. The apparition of an elderly woman is commonly sighted in the theater's restroom. Several women have reported feeling as if they're being watched while doing their business, and have even seen old-timey shoes pacing outside their stall. This ghost has also been known to open the door when it's locked and turn the faucet on or off. Reported all across the property are orbs captured in photos and video, the unshakable feeling of never truly being alone, and confusing accounts in which employees go to open in the morning and discover the soda fountain on and popcorn machine prepped. One local legend tells that a firefighter fell to his death in the 1920s. His spirit, fully clad in uniform, has been sighted wandering the 3rd floor, many claiming keeping a watch over the building. Lastly, but not least, the Liberty Theater is said to be haunted by a spirit nicknamed Handsome Paul. Paul appears as a good-looking guy in a tux, seemingly ready for a night out on the town. He is commonly sighted sitting in the audience by cast members from stage, and has even been known to chat with unsuspecting guests briefly before they turn for only a moment to find him nowhere in sight. Number 3. Lewis and Clark College. Lewis and Clark College is a private liberal arts college located on Palatine Hill Road on a sprawling 137-acre campus in the Collinsview neighborhood of Southwest Portland. It is one of only 4 Oregon colleges with foundations predating Oregon's actual statehood, and was voted 2nd most beautiful college in the nation in 2011 by the Princeton Review. The school was initially founded as Albany Academy in 1858 in none other than Albany, Oregon. Shortly after its opening, it began straying away from secondary, focusing instead on higher education. In 1866, the school changed its name to the Albany Collegiate, and again a year later in 1867 to Albany College. Impressively, this college is one of the few that can boast its coeducational prowess from the very start, and by 1892, amid rapidly growing numbers, the school was in desperate need of additional space. The original building was promptly enlarged, but eventually in 1952 the school was forced to move, relocating just to the south of Albany. In 1934, Albany College established a junior college in Portland, and later in 1939 the entire school was moved to the city. In 1942, the college acquired the Fur Acres Estate, also recognized as the M. Lloyd Estate, which was constructed in 1925 by Lloyd and Edna Frank. During the transition, the college's name was changed for the last time to Lewis and Clark. Today, Lewis and Clark College hosts an international student body of just over 2,000 students. It offers an undergraduate college of arts and sciences, a school of law, and a graduate school of education and counseling. Over its existence, stories of the age-old campus's hauntings have been brought to light from reports made by faculty, students, and various maintenance crews or workmen alike. The sounds of someone screaming bloody murder can be heard most every night right around 1 a.m. Those present for this phenomenon have also reported sighting a lone, ghostly figure running from what appears to be some form of mob. In Agnes Flanagan Chapel, strange knocking and banging sounds are heard emanating from empty rooms, and a strange light is often seen through the windows at night. A number of students have attempted to explain this phenomenon, but all attempts have come up blank. The Corbett house is said to be haunted by the spirit of Corbett's daughter, Harriet, or more commonly known by her nickname Sunny. One urban legend tells that Sunny fell in love, but that her love died at war or at sea, and that she perished from unimaginable grief, causing her spirit's unrest. This legend furthers to tell that groups of students have actually been attacked by Sunny while entering the old home. This is untrue, however, and historians have corrected that Sunny actually lived until 1999, causing most to speculate that, instead, her spirit most likely returned after her passing to seek better times. Conversely to all these tales, Sunny's spirit is said to be pleasant and welcoming. Also reported across campus and confined to no area in particular are windows opening and closing on their own, objects moving spatially when no one is around, doors unlocking and locking by themselves, sometimes trapping those present in associated rooms, and lights flickering with no known fault or cause. A range of students report feeling uncomfortable when alone pretty much anywhere on campus, as it always feels like someone unseen is there with them, and a number of chilling accounts tell of individuals being pushed or pinched by invisible hands. Number 2, the Shanghai Tunnels. The infamous Shanghai Tunnels, also dubbed the Portland Underground, is a group of historic underground passageways cutting beneath Old Town Portland and connecting many notable hotels, restaurants, taverns, and shops throughout the area up to waterfront. The area Portland now lies on was originally settled in the 1830s near the end of the Oregon Trail. Its easy water access proved vital in convenient transportation of goods, while its lush forests led to a prosperous but hungry timber industry, which eventually turned into the driving force behind the city's earliest economy. The city of Portland officially incorporated in 1851. As the city grew and became both more popular and more populated, tunnels were created as a means of hands-free transport between waterfront and local taverns, hotels, and the like. Shortly after their construction, these tunnels began picking up a dark reputation. As legend, which survives to this day, has it, a large number of individuals were kidnapped, robbed, or shanghaied here. Many would go to seemingly reputable businesses on the surface, only to secretly descend into the tunnel's depths, to gamble, purchase drugs, rent pleasurable company, and worse. Several stories tell that those not in tight with gangs running the tunnels would enter and would never be seen again. According to several historic reports, victims of the tunnels would be either drugged or beaten into unconsciousness, dragged to the waterfront below ground and out of sight, and then sold into slavery before they ever awoke. Although men were the most common target, many accounts do detail the abduction of both women and children. It's estimated that at least 1,500 individuals were shanghaied using these tunnels each year. As the city's populace grew in size, so did its rough reputation. By the 20th century, it was considered one of, if not the most dangerous port in the world. Through prohibition, the Shanghai tunnels were repurposed. In a flash, they went from transporting people to transporting booze and more exotic substances. The tunnels were officially closed up in the 1940s. Tours of these historic halls began in the 1970s and continue to this very day. If you're interested in a gander, make sure you hit the official tours, as the surviving shafts are not open to the general public, and according to local legend, probably for good reason. Over their very long lifespan, a number of stories of chilling paranormal activity has emerged from any who dare enter the Shanghai tunnels. During times in which the tunnels were actually being used for shanghaiing, many were also forced into prostitution or outright murdered within their demesnes. Those entering the tunnels today often report feeling a strange weight pressing on them from above, an anxiety, and many claim this is the weight of all the souls lost. Throughout the tunnels, many report shadowy figures slinking about, the feeling of being touched, grabbed, having hair pulled, or even being hit by unseen hands, and a host of full-bodied apparitions donning clothing from different eras, some looking quite emaciated. The most famous apparition from the Shanghai tunnels is, without a doubt, the ghostly Nina, a woman who it's said was sold into prostitution in life and who was later pushed down an elevator shaft to her doom. After it was discovered she was passing information to Christian missionaries. Nina manifests in a black dress and is most often sighted near the elevator shaft where she died. She has even been sighted in several restaurants above ground. Also reported throughout the Shanghai tunnels are disembodied voices, the sounds of someone whistling from the dark, batteries on electronic devices going dead within minutes, and orbs commonly captured in photos and video. Lastly, a ghostly and mysterious woman in white has been sighted roaming about, singing a sweet Scottish lullaby into the dark. Number 1. The Old Oregon State Hospital. The Old Oregon State Hospital off of Center Street in Salem is a historic hospital famous for being the filming site of the 1975 comedy drama One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, the oldest operating psychiatric hospital in the state, and one of the oldest continuously utilized hospitals on the West Coast. The original organization, which was established out of Portland in 1862, was intended for use as an insane asylum. It would later transfer to Salem in 1883 and adopt the Oregon State Insane Asylum as its official title. By 1891, a surprising and early influx of patients resulted in the prompt construction of 2 additional wings, along with an asylum infirmary a year later in 1892. At the turn of the century in 1900, the hospital expanded its campus, adding 6 large wards to the main building. During this time, the hospital boasted a total of 1,188 patients, ranging from 8 to 86 years in age, which was actually a pretty high count for the era. In 1910, the red brick building was painted white, and in 1913 its name was changed
crispy bacon, fluffy eggs, a warm, freshly made tortilla, melty cheese, and some chopped potatoes. I'm here in Austin, Texas, not here for barbecue, not here for football, not here for music. I'm here to eat breakfast tacos, a lot of them, and find the best.
The greatest breakfast tacos around. Austin, Texas, come on down. Barbecue, brisket, bacon, avocado, scrambled all up in the perfect taco.
This is what I'm looking for in the classic breakfast taco. A flour tortilla, freshly made, light and fluffy, nice air pockets. Eggs, well seasoned. Bacon, 50-50, crispy and tender, the way bacon should be. Cheese, probably cheddar or Monterey Jack. And lastly, potatoes. Are they gonna be chopped? Are they gonna be sliced? Are they gonna be mashed? We're not stopping at the classics though. We're gonna do a specialty taco at each spot. I just got off the plane. I need a little bit of rest. Grab some dinner with my trusty PA, Uncle Sonny. And Val, his pup. It is early, which means it's time for breakfast tacos. All right, we're at Mi Madre's, first two of the day. For my classic, it's potatoes, cheese, bacon, and eggs. This looks glorious right now. Tortilla, I want a little more lard. I'm looking for a flaky tortilla, right? This is fine. The bacon is cooked very well, crispy and chewy. For me, this is the early riser taco. You don't need to think about it. You get out of bed, you grab one of these, you get on with your day. For my special taco at Mi Madre, I went with the carne guisada. Carne guisada is essentially a beef stew that's made in Latin America. It's usually cooked with jalapenos, tomatoes, some onions, and of course beef. You can eat it over rice, but the best way to do it is in a flour tortilla. Beef is super flavorful. It's kind of falling apart, but still whole. This is solid. I think I want a little bit more from it though. Maybe I would like some avocado here. All right, we're at Joe's Bakery. You'll notice I have a little something extra here. While it is a taco establishment, also does tons of Mexican pastries. I couldn't not get a little pan de huevo, or concha, as some might call them. Basically just an egg bread that's a little colorful. This will be dessert. For the tacos, oh, that was nice, steam. They're making the tortillas in-house. It's a bakery, that makes sense. They're warm, a little crispy on the outside, and fluffy. There's nice little air pockets in there. Potatoes in slices. At Joe's, they have a special way of treating the bacon. They sprinkle it with flour the night before, throw it in the fridge, and then they put it on the griddle, and when the bacon hits that heat and that fat starts to seep out and render, it hydrates the flour and it gets super, super crispy. Everything I was hoping about the bacon to be true is true. And then the cheese is melted, but it's still stringy. This is tasting really, really good. Joe's Bakery, this breakfast taco is the anchor taco. These guys have been in this neighborhood forever. The neighborhood's been changing. This stays the same. This is my anchor. For our special taco, we're doing carne guisada again. No cheese on this, just the meat and the tortilla. We saw them actually butchering up the beef for this. The meat's so flavorful. You get that blend of dried chilies just hitting. So much flavor. This is really good. We're at Valentina's Tex-Mex Barbecue. These tortillas are pressed right there. You can tell they're still super warm off the griddle, and there's some nice browning on there too. Eggs and potatoes are kind of all in one there. Looks like there's some black pepper going on. Eggs are really well seasoned, super soft. It does have that pepper, does have that salt. The bacon is fried really nicely. And the tortilla is amazing. This is the Pitmaster taco. Bed of a pickup truck, trusty pup, in the parking lot. Come on, right next to the smokers. Perfect vibe. Look at this thing. This is called the Real Deal Holyfield. This is crazy. I wish you guys could feel it. It is legitimately heavy, and it might have something to do with that big old piece of brisket sitting on top. So we have potatoes, beans, fried egg, salsa, slice of brisket, and there's a slice of bacon under there too. Real Deal Holyfield, down the hatch. Whoa. That brisket changes everything up. There was the option, you could do it with pulled pork or brisket. We're in Texas. You're not gonna not order the brisket. This is the move. Taco Deli does something a little different here. There's a little bed of mashed potatoes for the eggs to lay their head on. The mashed potatoes do give a texture that's pretty similar to refried beans, which is nice. Taco Deli, this is the trail taco. You grab about 6 of these, throw them in your bag, lace up your boots, grab the pup, hit the trail. I'm on board. For our special taco at Taco Deli, we are going with the Otto, named after a guy named Otto. Look in here, no eggs. We have beans, cheese, avocado, and a double portion of bacon. Otto, what up? You get the beans, nice and mushy, very well seasoned. Then you get that crispy piece of bacon, and then again, you get kind of the moussade on top, if you will. The avocado. Mushy is not a bad thing here. It's super creamy, and it balances out that salt and that smokiness in the bacon really nicely. Oh yeah. Aguas frescas are needed right now. We're right off the highway in a parking lot in front of a truck. That is looking cheesy. Flour tortilla. They're making them inside the trailer. They look phenomenal going onto the griddle, and they feel phenomenal. Lots of cheese going on, egg all throughout. Potatoes are tossed in the eggs, and then the bacon is pretty finely chopped. This is killer. This is probably the best flour tortilla we've had all day, and the eggs are everywhere. They're seasoned well and not dry at all. This is a contender right here for the best. Rositas al Pastor, this is the lover's taco, because you can taste the love and the care in every bite. I'm following Sunny on this one. My specialty taco is going to be the Al Pastor. Al Pastor is in the name of the place. I'm not gonna not. The Al Pastor taco, for those of you that don't know, it's that big cone of meat you'll see kind of rotating on a spit. But traditionally, Al Pastor taco, you're gonna get pineapple, chopped white onion, and cilantro. It's not a breakfast taco, but I'd eat them for breakfast.
I never order corn, but she recommended it, and I think she was right.
Veracruz, all natural. Been sipping on a Topo Chico while I waited for these bad boys. Tasty. Tortilla, looking nice and fluffy. On the thicker side, I'd say. Got one big slice of bacon running throughout. Eggs and potatoes mashed together. Eggs are super fluffy. I want a little more salt on them. The bacon, though, does pack a lot of salt, so when you get that bite of bacon with the eggs, exactly what you're looking for. Sometimes a breakfast taco gets kind of weighed down by so much potato. This is the right amount, nice and light. Everyone that I've talked to, one of the first taco shops that they say, when I say, where do I get the best breakfast taco? It's Veracruz. So, this taco, it's the taco of the town. The specialty taco of Veracruz. This is kind of the celebrity taco in town. Migas taco, avocado, pico, egg, cheese, and little bits of crispy tortilla chips. This is a really solid taco. It's also maybe the first time I've had vegetables today, which is nice. But the avocado is really what seals it for me. How are you not gonna like an avocado on a taco? It's a beautiful thing. This is pretty cute. Got some fake grass. Got some high quality tacos. We're at Fairgrounds. It's kind of like a high-end food court. There's a lot of food concepts in there that have their secondary locations, and one of them is Dai Due. Started as a butcher shop, focusing on local Texas game. The tortillas, locally sourced flour, milled in Texas. Let's see how it stacks up. This tortilla is so perfectly crispy. It's light. The layers are kind of separating, creating these air pockets. See, when I hold it up, it's almost translucent. This tortilla is and cheese. Bacon looks nice and crispy, and that cheese is underneath everything. So again, it's going to be melted.
I think the tortilla could have been a little bit more crispier, though.
No. I think it's perfect the way it is.
Don't get defensive.
No, I don't. Do I start telling you how to make spotted dick or whatever the hell you make at home?
Welcome to Scrambled, where I take on some new friends, old friends with my favorite dish. Today, I've got one of the best Mexican chefs anywhere on the planet. We go back a long way. He is my little brother from a different mother. Please welcome Chef Aaron Sanchez.
Thank you very much, Gordon, for having me. Appreciate it.
Good to see you, Captain.
I see the budget's gotten bigger. Thanks. Come on, really? Yeah. Anyway,
it's not about the backdrop, it's what goes on the pan. That's
I
what
agree.
happens, yes,
I agree.
Not only are you a prolific judge standing alongside me on a daily basis, but you are the Mexican James Bond of cuisine. Where does that come from?
Well, I just think the idea of being this good looking and talented, you can probably blame my parents for that.
A little bird told me this morning that you were voted from People magazine, one of the most beautiful people in the world. Did you stuff the ballot box?
No, I think I started stuffing myself after that fame, but that was 10 years and 40 pounds ago.
Right.
But you know what?
Go on.
It was a lot of fun to kind of recognize by the magazine as somebody that's attractive.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah, and listen, congratulations, by the way. But what were you, 14, 15 at the time?
No, I was not.
Okay, just asking. Now, I launched Humble Pie 10 years ago. It meant a lot for me to write. I couldn't have done that without my mother.
Yeah.
You just launched yours. How hard was it writing that book?
I'm using this book as an opportunity to inspire others. I wanted people to know that it's not an easy ride. You know, all the different things that you and I do in our worlds, it's still the cooking is the most important part, family, and foundation.
And that comes across.
Yes.
I see that.
Well, I appreciate that.
Now, I'm going to take you on with scrambled eggs, but you want it to be an authentic Mexican scrambled egg. So we're going to do it inside a breakfast. Right, I couldn't have done that without my mother.
Tacos are all the rage nowadays. And for me, the traditional way of doing it is always started with chorizo, eggs, and some sort of potato.
So you telling me now how to make scrambled egg?
Yes, I am. Okay. Absolutely. Yeah. You bet your sweet ass I'm telling you that.
May the best man win.
All right.
Yeah, let's go.
You're dead, mate.
Give me an insight to some of the early dishes that you grew up, you remember with mum, because I mean, she was a prolific chef.
Yeah, my mom had a restaurant in New York City for 30 years, and really, the idea was to take all the traditional food that she had grown up eating on a cattle ranch in Mexico and bring it to the biggest food audience in the world, which is New York City.
Yep.
So she had to overcome a lot of adversity, a lot of self-doubt, and then I kind of went along the ride with her.
Right.
And it was one of the most harrowing experiences I've ever seen. I have so much respect for my mom.
Yep.
She has done so much, not only just for me, but for a generation of Mexican chefs.
Sure.
So I made a lot of initial trips to Mexico and all over Latin America to make sure I educated myself.
Gotcha.
So I spoke from a position of strength.
So you went off the beaten track, sort of almost opposite what she did.
Exactly.
And then brought that back to the fold.
Exactly. And I needed to develop my own style. And that was one of the biggest things my mentors had mentioned to me early on. Were don't regurgitate what your mom and what your mentors do. Find your culinary voice.
Yes.
And let it be clear for everyone to hear. You know the deal.
Yeah.
You don't want to, do things that your mentors taught you. You want to step away.
You have authenticity across your food. You're very passionate about what you do. You're a loving dad. What's with all the tattoos?
Okay, now, initially,
yes.
When I started cooking in the kitchens, it was a great place to kind of be a little bit of a misfit, an outlaw, a rebel. And tattooing early on was really part of that kind of image I guess I wanted to portray. I loved how rock and roll it was.
Right.
And then it kind of took off from there. I have a lot of friends that are tattoo artists, and now I co-own a tattoo shop to show you.
But they're everywhere.
Yes.
Is there anywhere on your body that doesn't have a tattoo?
I have one butt cheek that's kind of bare right now.
You have one butt cheek that is bare?
Yeah, so I'm waiting to complete the butt cheek, and then I'll truly be in tattoo bliss. Exactly.
Give us an insight to the foundation, because I've been following the foundation over the last 5 years. You're sponsoring young chefs that haven't been given opportunity.
Yes. Now, the kids that I'm working with are from Latin backgrounds, young women and men from all over the country. And what I saw initially when I started cooking was that there was a disparity between some Latinos getting positions of leadership in kitchens.
Right.
So I wanted to provide them with the foundation of the best culinary education possible, so to create this next generation of leaders in the kitchen.
Gotcha.
So it's the Aaron Sanchez Scholarship Fund. It's doing extremely well. We have about 5 kids enrolled into the program now, and we're going to put in probably another 3 this year. So
amazing. The proudest day of your career would be what?
I've been cooking at the White House a couple times. It was pretty fantastic. I had a chance to cook for President Bush and for Obama.
What was that like walking in there?
You know what? I mean, the pressure and the expectation were up the roof. I remember going there with my family, being like, this is probably the most important meal I'm ever going to cook in my life. So,
right. Were you nervous?
I was extremely nervous, and trying to choose a menu for heads of state and all of their colleagues and figuring out what's a universally liked menu. You know how it is. You've cooked for royalty and for presidents. You know the deal. So that for me was one of the biggest highlights, I guess.
What makes you nervous?
Failure.
Failure.
Yeah. Not living up to the expectation that people have of me, and letting people down. I think that right there is something that every chef possesses and contains. And you either use that as a source of strength, or it can really consume you. So I guess just the fear of failure. I'm sure that's something that concerns you too.
That's always in the back of my mind.
Yeah.
How important is it for you to be a Mexican, being successful in America today? What does that mean for you today?
My father was from a town of 200 people in the Valley of Texas. He was the first Mexican American to get a master's in the 50s for 1,000 miles.
Wow.
So it's really about honoring your legacy, your family, and making sure that you're an example to all those unbelievable generation of young kids that want to do what we do every day.
Sure.
So I think that really is the goal, and that's how it feels so rewarding.
Now, away from the kitchen,
Yeah.
what relaxes you?
Well, I love spending time with my family, obviously, just like you do. I love going to the beach. I love being on the water. I love to dance. Like, I know you're a big fan of dancing.
I can't dance.
Dude,
I can't dance.
I saw you on Master Chef Junior, brother. You were a hot mess. I've never seen a guy actually go against the rhythm so much in my life.
I know I can't dance.
I mean, Scotland's not known for...
No, drinking, but not dancing. And every time I do dance, my daughters think I'm having a fit.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. So I'm not the only one.
Right.
I love it.
Now, the layering of a breakfast taco.
So for me, crispy tortilla or soft tortilla.
Sure.
Let that be the base. And then from there, we're gonna go ahead and start working with your garnishes and your salsas,
Yes.
okay? So you went bacon, onion, mushroom, right?
Yes,
So
that's
very
right.
kind of European.
A little bit chili in there as
A
well.
little bit of chili
Yes.
and some scallion. Okay, cool.
Scallions to finish.
Mine has a chorizo potato, a little bit of onion, little tomato, and then I like to put all my fresh herbs at the end.
Right, let's have a look at these side by side. You still putting bits on there?
Cheating.
Now you're taking the piss. I've finished, and you put the avocado on.
Now I'm putting avocado in. Do you know what means testicle in Aztec? So the Aztec language, the word aguacate means testicle. Put that in your next book, all right? Here you go, hold on. Move over, a little salt. All day long, amigo.
So describe yours, please.
First of all, let's describe it with delicious, all right? Let's start with that. Chorizo, a little bit of potatoes, a little onion, of course, a little salsa roja and some aguacate.
So I have scrambled egg. Started off with a little bit of chorizo, mushroom, a little bit of bacon in there. Finished with some chili, topped with salsa, and finished with your cheese.
With cacique, you mean?
Cacique cheese.
One of the best cheeses ever.
Okay.
Is there anything you didn't put on there? Jesus, look at that.
Please, stop being fussy. Come on, take one of mine, I'll take one of yours. And here we go.
Expectations are high here, chef. Indeed. You fancified a breakfast taco for the love of the baby Jesus. But you know what? I'm happy you did it because it's yummy.
Yours is delicious. Really good. I think the tortilla could have been a little bit more crispier though.
No, I think it's perfect the way it is.
Don't get defensive.
No, I don't. Do I start telling you how to make spotted dick or whatever the hell you make at home? Senor.
Well done.
Senor, may you always continue to make tacos, okay? Consider me your Mexican messiah. I will free you from bad Mexican food. Thank you.
Right, that's it for Scrambled. Please leave a comment below on who you think has done the best. You share the name with another famous Aaron Sanchez, basketball player.
No.
A baseball player. Oh yeah, I better get that right. There's too many sports here.
Well, y'all been asking for it, and it's here. We've been doing some of them remakes, and this is a Taco Bell Supreme Crunch wrap it is, but we're doing it cowboy style. Double meat, double crunch, double everything up, and double dancing. Come on, I'm gonna get the tortillas hot. Taco Bell. Okay, ma'am, I'm gonna do the Ultimate Crunch Wrap Supreme. This will be the first time I ever been to Taco Bell. We're gonna try it out. Thank you, ma'am.
You shouldn't be allowed at drive-thrus.
Hey, thank y'all for stopping by camp on a glorious day it is. And yep, we done been out on the road again trying to do some research, and y'all been asking me, hey Ken, what about that Taco Bell Supreme Ultimate Crunch Wrap something another? You know, I think that was the first time that I ever pulled up in a drive-up window at Taco Bell. Quite the experience it was, but I'm thinking we take this thing out of the sack, give it a going over, and then what? We see, can we reconstruct?